Hi, it's Ren from Spirits of Fashion. I'm finally back after a long hiatus of traveling through New England doing presentations. It's been a very busy season, but a good one. I'm going to come back to my weekly videos every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to continue with fashion history type videos, but I also have something new coming up too that I want to do and have a series of these videos come out, and that I will mention at the end of the video, so stick around to hear the rest of it. Today I'm going to be talking about my incredible weekend of Titanic celebration, not that the ship sank, but celebration that some people did live, and that story still lingers on today. And my friend and I were lucky enough to be able to go to the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts, which is my favorite place in the world. It's like a second home to me. And we went to this entire weekend. We bought the first class package. So we were treated to a captain's cocktail hour, an 8-course tasting meal based on the menu from the Titanic, and the brunch and etiquette lesson was the next morning with tea, and it was absolutely incredible. And then finally a masquerade ball in the evening. And what was wonderful is people did dress up for this event as expected. And my friend and I spent a lot of time figuring out, what should we wear? And she would send me texts and saying, is this period appropriate? Fortunately for me, because I've been doing this for so long, I have quite a collection, not only a vintage. I don't wear something that's as old as 1912 or thereabouts because it's too fragile. But I do have a lot of sort of costume pieces or vintage inspired pieces that can either be a direct reproduction of something from that era or something that comes pretty close. So that's what I did when I was getting ready for my event. Before I get started on that, I always like to talk about my outfit because I'm always combining vintage pieces with modern pieces, which I love to do. This jacket, I love this jacket. This is a reversible silk-like feeling jacket. It feels like real silk. I'm not sure that it is, but it's absolutely stunning. It's thick and lustrous, and it has the frog closures on both sides and pockets on both sides. It's this beautiful teal on the inside, and then outside is sort of this nice bright orange color, which is one of my favorites. This is an 80s blouse, which I love because it has that crossover type collar. I love these. I have several of them in different patterns. And the jeans are modern, and the belt is probably not that old, but I did get this at a thrift store as well. And then my booties are from DSW shoes, and they were on clearance. This was several years ago, and I love them because of the pattern on them. So that's it. And then a headscarf, just because my hair definitely needs some coloring, so I wasn't going to take that chance and show you all the gray coming in today. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So again, the cocktail hour was the first thing with the captain, and I will try to include a picture here. I seem to have lost the picture I had of us with the captain, but I'll see if I can find it. But I picked a dress that I bought years ago when I started to do Downton Abbey and Titanic fashion history programs at libraries and senior centers and such. And so I've had this dress for a long time. It's a really good example of what would have been worn for evening in 1912. And here it is. So this dress it's hard to see in the light. It's a gray overdress, light gray, over a tank dress, which is a deeper shade of gray. You will see me in a picture of it. I'll put it up on the screen. And it's not my best colors, but it's such a good example of this sort of overlayer that they would put on during 1912. And I'll include pictures of what that might have looked like too. And it's a very comfortable dress. It's roomy. It's not tight as it wouldn't have been back in 1912. But because this was an April 11th event, it was still chilly. It was cold and rainy all weekend. that didn't stop us from having fun. But I always had an extra layer. So this is not old, but this is a piece that's beaded. And I love it because it really looks like it could have been used during that era. And it does have some really nice fringe with beads. And I know I need to work on the lighting in here. We're still getting the studio tweaked so that the videos come out with enough lighting. But this is a really good piece to have on hand when you want to do something, even if it's something Victorian. This could be sort of very versatile as a cover-up. So that was my evening. I had a pair of Victorian-inspired boots. I don't have them down here with me, but I wear them all the time for different events. And I found those at Pyramid Collection. They had been on sale. I had to grab them. And I've worn many a pair of those. They eventually wear out and I have to buy new ones, but it's worth it. The next piece was for the tea the next morning. And this is a suit that I have had just as long when I started doing Downton Abbey, because of course if you did watch Downton Abbey, you know that series 1, the first episode in series 1, started with the sinking of the Titanic and that news coming in. So this is a suit that I had ordered overseas, and it was expensive, but it was worth it because I still wear it for so many events. For example, this sometime in May, I think it's Mother's Day weekend, I'm doing a farewell to Downton Abbey event. It's a tea in a historic home in Lincoln, and I've been there many times before and worn this particular piece there, as well as the gray piece that I just showed you. So this is a great piece, two-piece to wear. And with that underneath was just this modern loft, Ann Taylor loft lacy top, which again, see, you can find these pieces all over the place. You can find vintage, and we're going to be talking much more about that in other videos, but you don't have to have the real thing. You can find these pieces just in the store if you know what to look for. You know, if you see something lacy, you might think, well, this is kind of cool if I wanted to wear something sort of Victorian or Edwardian. How would I dress this up? So that's definitely a recommendation that we'll go into more and more. I'm going to get the wig that fell on the floor. This is the wig I wore because I don't have much hair. Now, in this period of time, they were kind of coming out of the Gibson girl era, and their hair is still worn up for these occasions, formal occasions, and most of the time anyway, they didn't wear their hair down. So this was the Gibson girl style Edwardian hairstyle, which is a lot of hair in the front, and then the rest is pulled up and worn in a little bun. Well, I don't have enough of that hair, so I bought a bright red wig. I have some posts on Instagram at SpiritsOfFashion Passion if you want to check those out, but I definitely had this wig for this occasion for that reason. There was only one problem: the hat that I was wearing. So the problem was I had the wig on, and my friend had to pin it with a long hat pin, as they would have done back in the day, had to pin it through the hat and into the bun of the wig, and then through the other side. It only has a very small hole, so it would go on top of the hair. And it's a great reproduction hat that I bought at the same time I bought the green suit, and it's terrific. The problem was, because it was set back on my head, it was the only way she could get it on, it kept pulling the wig up and back and back and back until I had to keep tugging it down. So it was sort of a joke at our table. I'm going to take this wig and fling it into the corner. It drove me crazy. For that reason, when we went to the ball at night, I did not wear the wig. My friend did my hair with feathers and all kinds of fancy stuff, so that helped. But this hat is a beautiful example of the big hats they would have worn by then. If you remember the movie, if you saw Titanic, Kate Winslet's character Rose had a big hat on when she got onto the ship. So that was another wonderful thing that I was able to use, but it's very difficult and unwieldy to deal with, especially if you don't have a lot of hair in which to put the pin. So that is my little story about that. And then lastly, the masquerade ball. Oh, I can't even tell you how much fun it was. They had music playing at every event. At the dinner, they had a woman playing the bass, the cello. And then at the brunch, the tea brunch, they had a lovely harpist. And then in the beginning of the masquerade ball, it was so cool because they had violins, one or two violin players, but then they cranked up the music and everybody was able to dance. It was the most incredible thing I think I've ever attended in my life. I'm sure you can hear the excitement in my voice. I just hope they do it again next year with maybe another era. I had offered to do an event for them like this, like just talk about Titanic era fashion, but they were already booked. They had everything already planned, but maybe next year they would want to have me do a little bit about that. So let me show you the last piece. Now the last piece, I looked online, you know, I don't want to buy something that's kind of cheesy, that might look like something that Rose would have worn, but I had this gown that I wore to one of my kids' weddings. And it's just from Macy's, but I said, you know, it's got the right line. And it's this purple sleeveless dress with the rhinestone at the top, and it's kind of gathered, but it's got this sort of filmy, almost an overlay. And I said, well, you know, this really works. This is going to do it for me. And then I had these shoes that I had bought. They're black patent leather with silver trim, and they had a high enough heel to make sure this wasn't dragging on the ground. So that worked out great. And then I had this cape, and you know, I can't remember where I bought it, but it is just so phenomenal, I think. And again, you'll see a picture. I'll put a picture up there. And it's just, it was a perfect cover for this dress. Lots of glitter and splash for a ball. I borrowed my friend's mask. It was a gold mask with a little handle. So she wore a mask on her face. I carried mine. And then because, again, it was cold, and you'll see a picture of me with this, it's a white stole. She had a white mink stole on. I believe she had that on for the tea. But anyway, she let me borrow that because it was chilly in the beginning, and then I know that came off a little later when we were dancing. So that was the summary of all of the outfits that I wore during this lovely event. I would highly recommend it wherever you live. If you want to do something really fantastic that's period related, that is another time, you feel like you're stepping into another time. For example, the dinner, when we walked in the line to get into the dinner, we already had, you know, the reservations, our special tables, first class menu. You had a little name card that said your name and then first class. And they had all of the waiters and waitresses, I should say, the wait staff, standing, waiting for us with the towels over their arms. Oh, I just loved it so much. And then when we had the tea, as each set of people came in, you know, if you're with a group or you're with another person, they would announce each of you individually. So Ms. Ren Antonovich and Miss Catherine Morneau. That was my friend, and it was exciting. If you like that sort of pomp and circumstance, I would highly recommend checking it out if they do it again next year. And again, that's the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts. Lastly, let me just mention what I told you I would. I'm going to be starting a new series. When I was last doing videos a few months ago, I was doing every other week, switching it off so I would have something about fashion history one week, and the next week would be about style. And I was trying to focus a lot on senior style because I always tell my attendees when I do an event, I do a lot about style for the golden years, or, you know, style with vintage and thrifted fashion and accessories. And I always tell them, the older you get, the more fun you should have with fashion. Who cares? You know, we're not going to be caring about if anybody's judging us. After a certain age, you just want to enjoy yourself and have fun getting dressed. So I'm going to start videos that really focus on that, showing you a lot of pieces that I've thrifted over the years that are statement pieces, and I really believe in that. So, for example, this is a statement piece. This jacket is definitely a statement. This jacket is definitely a statement piece, and I really love the fact that even if I wore nothing but a t-shirt and jeans under it, this is going to get noticed. And many seniors feel funny about that. They're like, no, I don't really want to. But usually I can inspire them to try it, even if they're trying accessories at first. This is my cat, Phoebe. We have 2 cats, Phoebe and Pepper, and a big old dog named Kevin. Phoebe likes to see what's going on and become a part of it, so you'll probably see her in these videos a lot. But anyway, I love statement pieces for that reason. So people seem to feel more comfortable when they can start slowly, start with accessories maybe and move up. That's how I started. So I'm going to definitely focus on that in that every other week segment or series. I'm going to call it Maverick Style. There's a story behind that. In my career choices over the years, even in my first career before I came into the history of fashion, I am very sensitive about what I'm doing and my environment. And if I don't like something, I will suffer with it as long as I have to, and then I'm moving on. So this happened to me with my first teaching job in history of fashion. In that field, I was in Erie, Pennsylvania, and although I loved the school and really enjoyed teaching, the problem was it was just so depressing weather-wise. And I'm a winter girl, but we never saw the sun. So I decided I just had to get back up here. And I'd left everybody, all my friends and family behind anyway. So, and I did it again in Vermont here, but that's another story. But here we were, I was coming home, and my nephew was currently in the Army. He was serving in Iraq, and he happened to get in touch, just call his mom to see what was going on back here at home. And so he asked about me, and she said, oh, she was doing great, but she's coming back home. And he hesitated, and he said, yeah, Auntie Karen and I are the Mavericks of the family. And it just lit me up because it's true. I never really put a term to it, but Mavericks are just unconventional. They don't always follow what other people do. I didn't get married young and have children. There's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't my path for whatever reason. And so Maverick is my lifestyle, being a Maverick, and I like it. I love it. I just love the term. So Maverick Style is all about following your own rules, following what makes you happy, what lights you up, what inspires you. Do you see something in a magazine that you say, I wouldn't wear it that way, but I would love to try it in this other way? And the other part of that is you can start with what's in your closet. So you've heard the term, I'm sure, shop your closet. Well, it's really true. You probably can look at what you already have and say, you know what, I can mix this with this, and it might make more of a statement. So let me see if I can be brave today and try this, or try these 2 colors together that I never would have put together before. So that's what Maverick Style is all about. But I'm going to focus on secondhand shopping, vintage shopping, and how to put things together with modern items. So if you don't want to feel like you're in a costume, then you won't have to. What this does is it just brings out your personality, your particular fashion personality, and allows you to express yourself the way you want to be seen. And we will talk about fashion personalities, about color, and all of those great things in this series. So I hope to see you all there. And again, I'm Ren from Spirits of Fashion. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you'll know when all my new videos come out. And I also have a Facebook at Spirits of Fashion and Instagram, Spirits of Fashion Passion. So all of you have a great day, and I will see you next week. And remember, style never dies. Bye.